Hello, bits of internet, and welcome to a person who does not correctly record his audio. Anyway, here I am building an EVAC responder for the army of Russia and the USSR, rather, who have not broken up in 1995. Again, I can't English and I can't record audio properly, so I'm recording this after the fact. And you'll see, I have settled on a basic structure, let's say, of the car. It is very much a ladder with basic suspension that you would expect on a utilitarian vehicle. I do start out going full leaf all around. It does get more advanced later on, but there's no need to really talk on that now, so we can just move on. So here we have the engine build, which I have speeded up. Well, the engine build at this point, it starts off as basically being something that's a turbo diesel kind of engine. That's just simple, easy to work on and fix and cheap to make. I know you can't get diesel in this game, so I just had to make do with what petrol engines there are, but I eventually do get it to 108-ish horsepower, and that's enough for what this type of vehicle is. But I end up building more of a crossover than an actual army vehicle, and that's the real problem. As you'll see, maybe I do go too far the other way in future, but I do get a much more rugged vehicle that can put up with the kind of hostile environments that it needs to put up with, and it's still quite fast, believe me, with all the problems it ends up having. But this, yeah, you'll see, it's an SUV at this point, but not really a military SUV. It's just something you could typically see as a larger Russian family vehicle, I guess. So here I have the final vehicle. There is not a single bit of chrome on it apart from the exhausts and the hubcaps. Not the actual wheels though. They're black, but the wheels are black on the front. Anyway, there is also maybe a bit of chrome inside the lights, but that's not really something to shout about. Anyway, it is kind of a bank van with a very powerful engine. It is a V8 of 10 litres, if I remember correctly. We have 50-50 weight balance, so it's very well balanced there. Corrosion resistant ladder and panels, and armoured as well, to make sure it can fend off any gunshots. Hence the small windows too, why I decided this would be a good basis. But it is still raised up. It's not normally going to sit this low. It's just because I've raised it, it looks like this. We have somewhere it says how big the engine is. It was 10 litres to my knowledge. There's 9 seats, which I would assume is 3 in the front and then 3 in the back. There's no weird doors on the side, but there is these ones. So yeah, that'll do. I don't know how that rear handle will work, but it will. Yeah, it's just going to use magic to work. That's what we're running with. I don't know. There is actually downforce, surprisingly. I was not trying for that, but all the better, I guess. Because I was not trying for downforce, but it is definitely a positive side effect. I can't remember what suspension it's on, but I think I did customise it. And it's on the lower end of the ride height, but it is raised because of the type of suspension it's using. It's on live coil front and leaf springs on the back. And I also have this step here, which I forgot to duplicate, so if we just go back, you'll see nothing really fancy here besides the brakes. They had to be fancy just because it weighs 4.7 plus tons. It had to be slowed somehow. 305 tyres all round and 16-inch wheels, which do struggle a bit to put the power down, but they do it. I mean, it's not easiest thing in the world, but they do get away with it. So there we go. A step for the two front doors, and the bumper can act as a step for the rear, even though it's made of plastic, and it likes to fall off from my driving. If you just give it a really light bump, it will fall off the car, the van, whatever. Anyway, moving on. We have the green paint. Maybe I should change that. You know what colours can we make it? Wait, we need a really stupid military colour. Yes! Nobody is going to see this. It's so perfect, you know? Nobody is going to notice it. How undercover a colour. Well, the good thing is, at least when they do shoot at it, they can't catch it. But look at that turbo lag. That is a 10-litre engine right there. But because I'm trying to run it on vodka, which is the low-quality fuel, it is really struggling. Where will it say? It will say somewhere where the fuel type is. I think, what type of fuel injection? I used multi-point. I did try single point and it wouldn't work. I may have tried mechanical as well. But it's far more advanced than it should be. I mean, I didn't want to run this engine to be as advanced as it is, but it ended up being 4 valve per cylinder with multi-point injection because, well, I need the power to move this. Speaking of which, I can't remember how fast it is because I'm not very professional, so I'm going to have to check here. 9.7, yeah. I could make it a bit quicker, but it would spin the wheels up, and I don't want that. We have an automatic as well. A 4-speed, standard stuff. It's got enough power, so it's not a problem. But it has a 4-speed auto, and that will help it get going as well. I could probably reduce the number of gears, to be honest, but there's no real point. And what have we got here? 669 right there. And then it goes up to 784 right at the top of the rev range. I believe that is done because of the componentry. Can I upgrade the conrods? I shouldn't be doing this now. I could, I think. But then it would have torque problems. So, you know, we've got over 1100 torques. This is one torquey engine. I feel like it was making more power, though. I do feel like that's the case. I feel it was making a fair amount more power. So 784. And where was I? I can try just in this actually as well. Just all these little bits. Ah, the exhaust. I've just remembered that now actually. Maybe I could try and eke a bit more out of this because getting the exhaust size just right can help. Actually, if I make it smaller, I shouldn't care about it making it lighter, but it does care. But what I do care about is that bit of torque I've got. Bit of extra torque. Very nice to have that. The rest of the car shouldn't be affected enough to mess with it. Yeah, it says the gaming's restricting the top speed. I've restricted it to 100 to keep things safe. The car has issues with wheel spin. Really? Maybe that's to do with the torque then. And then I was thinking I could probably even cheap out on the transmission because they say it tends to oversteer. I don't care. I'm sure it's not that bad. We've got 6.9 miles per gallon. I think it was doing 7.1. There's just no real need, though, to have the crazy number of gears. I guess 4 isn't crazy, but even so, we can get those two like that. We can basically run a 2-speed, or not, if it's not the most efficient. There we go. And that should do a job of it. So, where are we? Yeah. The car tends to oversteer, and it's saying that's the only problem now. I've probably lost a bit of miles per gallon coming out my vodka. I mean, it's already less than 10. But the good thing is, there's enough potato crops. So there will always be enough vodka. And have we got that sorted now? I don't know. Yep, there we go. How quick is it accelerating? I adjusted it for miles per gallon, oh dear. I wonder if that means, though, that if I go actually adding a 5-speed, I can make a worthwhile improvement. So, 9.4. Oh, yes. So I can use the gears for efficiency. So a 5-speed is probably worthwhile, given how much fuel efficiency I am standing to gain from that. 7.5 miles per gallon. And if I can move it. Okay, so it's not ideally fast now. I have lost less than a second from the speed, but I think it's still quick enough to get going and underway. And it is now 7.6 miles per gallon. I can't complain about that. I say that as if it's a good thing, but remember, this is over 4 tons of thing we've got to move. It's no economy vehicle. And then it's got a heavy cast iron engine. I mean, full cast iron for strength, really. That, and it's got so much weight to it, it doesn't really matter. As I said, the weight balance is near enough 50-50. So, it's a balanced car. Here we have all the engine bits and gubbins. There we go. That was what I was looking for. It is running on vodka or low quality fuel. But because it's the USSR, it's vodka. And we have our basic suspension. I mean, we could go with other types, but they're really more race car, whereas these types are like extreme off-road. I've put leaf springs on the back because it is essentially still a van. It's got to haul a lot of weight for what it is. I mean, this is a smaller of the bodies. There was bigger ones, but I decided this one would be better because it would be lighter and quicker and easier to maneuver, despite all the extra armour weight. Anyway, where are we? Ladder frame, yes, that's also what we want. We could try and use a unitary, but with a vehicle of this weight, you do want the heavy-duty stuff. It's heavier than a lot of full-size American pickups. Even Ford F-250s probably would be heavier, so, or lighter armor. So you see my point, this is no lightweight. Anyway, I think with that being done, I can, yeah, for visual effect, we export it to Beam and see how it drives. So, here we have a hopper, which is not the vehicle I was intending to originally test, but I decided since I am now using a Xbox 360 controller, because, you know, I'm hanging on to old technology and all that, I might as well use two kind of similar, well, as similar as I could realistically get vehicles to compare it to. And here we have a V8 hopper even, as you may have just noticed if I did pan down. It has a 6.9 litre V8 making 283 horsepower, which is quite a bit. This doesn't even weigh 1500 kilos, so I hope you get where I'm coming from here. And we do have all-wheel drive. It is actually on standard road tyres. It's not on off-road tyres, but I figured just being a gravelly surface, it would be better if I just went with these 225s. I could probably put the power down a bit better, We're going a bit wide, but it's fine. It has the grip, surprisingly enough. I mean, this is a powerful vehicle, we must remember. It's not the most powerful by any means, but it does have a lot of power, especially for its curb weight. I mean, I've made a few adjustments to this. You'll see the bonnet just in front of the dashboard is vented. It didn't need to be, but I thought it would be realistic given it's got such a big engine. And it does add a lot of weight having this engine, by the way. But then, so my car has a big engine. I mean, I figured, why not go with the biggest one possible? It also makes a lot of power because it's big, and that always does help. I did change the engine's carburetors. I went from 2-barrel to 4-barrel, but I haven't supercharged it or anything like that. So it is still the standard naturally aspirated engine. Oh dear. Well, thankfully it has got itself corrected. What am I doing? I apparently don't know how to change gear, and something is bent, but thankfully that first lap was very, very good. And I mean, although it is obviously bent up, it is still going. I mean, I'm going to have to counter steer, whatever it is, a lot more, because it is veering to the right quite badly. But that being said and done, I can deal with it. I should probably have upgraded the brakes, but hey, you know what, I didn't. And that's why we have to deal with these standard hopper brakes. Mind, they are from the sport version of the car, so it might not be too bad. And it just isn't the most refined vehicle in the world, I can say that. You can see how it's jolting and jumping around, which you don't exactly want, and this lap is already terrible because, as you saw at the very start, I threw it away. The first lap was good because it kind of happened just as I was crossing the finish line that the vehicle lost control. As I ease it out here. Oh, somehow it's managed to balance itself there in a way that wasn't too bad. Yeah, it could have been a lot worse, just seeing how that was going into there. But that 117 did feel quite good, besides the fact that I did have to correct it, and I made a terrible mess of that. I think if I slow it down into here, yes, I've got a lovely run through there. I mean, I'm not complaining about these brakes. They're doing their job just fine. I would like better brakes, but they are not bad. They're easily good enough for what this vehicle is doing right now. And my vehicle is just so heavy, I'm not sure it will be able to compete with these brakes anyway, even if they aren't the highest ends of brakes in the world. I thought of putting a V8 in this because there is a fair few Jeeps out there, I think, that have V8s. They've either been converted afterwards or they were V8s from the factory, but the fact is, it's quite a popular choice. And the fastest lap was actually the first lap here, 108 rather, 0.788. Now it seems quite good, but I guess time will tell if it really is. I'll just go into free roam and briefly see what the damage is. Yeah, the front axle is entirely bent up, which explains it. The rear axle actually survived quite well. This has coil springs on the front and the rear. It's more advanced than my vehicle, believe it or not, in every way. Well, I say that, in the rear, is just as advanced in the front. Mine does have very, very good weight balance. That's about the only thing it has going for it. But, without further ado, I do have to move on to a Roma that I have prepared. Here I have a heavy-duty vehicle. This is the Roma Police Bruiser, as I've decided to call it. It is essentially a Sheriff Roma, but I have modified the 5.5 litre engine, and I've not put any superchargers or anything on it again, but it's still enough to bring this over 500 horsepower. And it has 8 lug wheels as well, because I wanted it to feel a bit more heavy duty like mine is. Now this is a bit closer to mine in terms of suspension setup. it's got leaf springs on the back, and it's got double wishbone on the front, I believe. Or whatever it is, it's independent. So it's a bit better than mine on the front suspension, but the rear suspension is the same. I know this is only a 5-seater, as the Hopper is only a 4-seater, but I've gone with the closest match I could. Now if we change the view, I should be able to just begin this. And off we go. I probably should have got some revs up before doing that, because the way the powertrain is on this, the engine just doesn't give a lot on the lower RPMs in first gear. It's not a particularly bad thing for general use. You just don't need it to get off the line crazy fast. But if you're actually trying to race it like I am, then it does matter. I really do love these wheels. I think they're called STXs, if I remember correctly, and they are gripping incredibly well. I haven't upgraded the brakes on this either, but honestly it doesn't need it. I upgraded the bits that needed upgrading basically to turn it into a competitive package, and this has got a competitive package. I feel more than the Hopper. It feels slow if I'm being entirely honest, but at the same time I get the feeling this is going to feel slow and be quick, because it's doing a much better job of flattening out these bumps. It just feels so refined. Also, in case you hadn't noticed, as I guess a bit of an Easter egg, I put a D-Series steering wheel on because I'm like, hey, we have the option, why not do that? And this vehicle is actually spot on for age, as I believe the Hopper is as well. This is 1992 to 1999 on the years that BeamNG mentions, so it puts us spot on for competing with a 1995, sorry, rather. And that is what our vehicle is. Try and hook onto the inside like that. I'm on the second lap and I'm just not thinking about it. I'm almost sleep driving this vehicle. It's so easy. I'll also mention, I'm pretty sure the gear ratios on this are longer, because the Hopper, you could hit the very top of 5th gear on a grid small pure and actually cope with that very nicely, because I'm pretty sure where one of the rear wheels was hanging off the edge of the road. But as I was saying, on grid small pure you can hit the top of 5th gear in that. On this you can't, and I'm getting very slow through here, but I guess I'll have to just hope for the final lap, because that lap wasn't the best. If I really focus here, oh dear. Yeah, that's what I mean about suspension refinement though. It was a bit all over the place, yes, but if that was the Hopper, you would have probably been halfway into the bush. It's just so much more forgiving. And it's the way it's set up. It's a general civilian car. This one is raised as well, which might mean it's softer still than the standard Rover, which isn't too bad, no. I mean, I'm not saying that these are going to beat a luxury vehicle. I'm not saying they're going to beat your air-sprung 7 Series or whatever. It's just, they are, for what they are, very refined vehicles. And I mean, about as refined, I reckon, as leaf springs can be. Because we must remember that it has got leaf springs. They are basically a D-Series with a SUV body. I'm going to shift down to first here because I know how this engine can be. It has a lot of power at the top, but only at the top. I mean, this is 2.15-ish tons, so it's a heavy vehicle. That helps, I reckon, with refinement. And it is slower than the Hopper. 111, but it put up a good fight nonetheless. However, let's look at free roam. Here's the thing, this may technically be slower than the Hopper, but it would make a much better military vehicle just because it is still intact, completely. Nothing on it is damaged or broken, besides that one turning signal. But compared to the entire axle braking on the front of a Hopper, I think it's done remarkably well on that front. Anyway, without further ado, on to my vehicle. Onwards to the McArmy McTrekker. And I am really hoping... Wait, why is the exhaust coming out the wheel? Wow. Oh wow, what do I care? Anyway, it's hopefully going to fly because of the wings on the sides. Fly past the competition and win. But I've put exhaust pipes on the back. I think it's very poor quality and the exhaust pipes just don't work. So the exhaust comes out the muffler. Makes sense to me. Anyway, I'll have to use bonnet cam here because there's no interior cam. Whoop, there we go. Finally found drive. Huge turbo lag here, but I feel like it's actually not as bad as the D-Series was. Ooh, and that D-Series, when I tested it on Grid Small Pure for speed, that really did pull. But truth be told, I feel like this car may actually be capable. I feel the weight may actually be playing on its side just for kind of crushing down the terrain. I mean, it does have the right tyres for the job. My only issue is it might just be a little too heavy, equally so. I've always been running the differentials open, if I have the option round here. And indeed, this does feel better balanced. I mean, automation was saying it would oversteer. It definitely does not. If anything, it understeers. But I am pretty surprised by the floatiness. Mind, it does like to rack the front end on the ground like that. I think it's just the weight, though, does make it more refined. And you can hear these horrible, horrible noises coming from it clonking on the floor. But besides that, it gets on with the job. It complains, it whines, but it does do what it's supposed to. The first lap was very, very slow, but mind, that could have been getting it up to speed with the turbo lag, remember? Try and keep the revs high if I can possibly do that and overcome the understeer, and I might just about be able to beat the other two vehicles, or if I could even just beat the Roma, I would be happy. This is not fancy suspension though, remember, this is no air suspension system. It's just a big car with a heavy body and chassis. All these vehicles that I have been driving today have got ladder chassis, as I managed to eventually put that into a sentence, which should mean similar handling characteristics, you'd think, but they don't. They're just so far apart, come on. That was a bit better actually than the, I would say, D-Series. Roma, that was it, and getting up there, oh dear. Going very, very wide, but somehow pulling it together. There's one of my bumpers. 111, I think I have beaten the Roma. I'm not certain, though. I have to keep pushing the vehicle. And I'm going a bit wide, like I was in the hopper. That's okay, though, because that was a free area of dirt. That was not really filled with trees or anything. Try and do what I think I was doing in the hopper and hook onto that. Oh, dear. I didn't get all the boost there. Thankfully, I didn't really need it because I was kind of just going to go into a tree if I did get all the boost right there. I think I have to just anticipate the delay to get the best out of it. Trouble is, even when I anticipate the delay, all the power just isn't there when I need it. Come on, use your weight to crash through there. I mean, if I was driving this vehicle, the soldiers would have a very, very painful backs, that's for sure. I did give them better seats than just wooden benches, but still, they would still have painful backs because it's not the most refined vehicle in the world, even if it is by these standards. And yeah, I did get consistently quicker. So I think we've beaten the Roma. Let's double check. So here we are in the distant future where I have actually finally got my video editor to work. It wasn't easy, but you know, I finally got my clips recognised and functioning. Anyway, here is the vehicle. It is not, as I say, the one I raced. It is a different one, but there is still one important test we've got to do. And anyway, besides, the only issue that this has generally with bodywear is the... oh, is the bumpers falling off like such. Well, you've got to see that at least. I have remembered I have done something incredibly stupid here, though. I've actually turned collisions off because when I'm running lots of traffic, it runs a better frame rate that way. However, it does have downsides. So if we go to options, gameplay, simplified collision physics, there we go. Now we should be able to actually smash into these two ETKs. See how it is at barging them out of the way? I would say that's actually done quite a good job of it. It has beaten the front of the vehicle up a bit, but, you know, you can't have everything. I mean, it's not saying it's damaged either. Let's see if the ETKs have fared any better. Well, in the place of impact, this huge travelling lump of steel looks to have won, although the suspension has just collapsed. It was doing well, but then it looks like that had just done it in. Not that strong then, I guess. Oh, went right through that sign. So maybe it's not as strong as it looks, or maybe it is. Hard to really declare. It is a bit better there. Maybe it's just the bodywork getting all out of shape. Anyway, with that being said and done, I'm going to leave it for here today and say goodbye until another day.